Wow.
Insane.
Sheesh.
Absolutely insane.
You know what's wild too is that like that sounds horrible, and then you compare it to the verse in Deuteronomy, and it's like what is going on right now?
Where do we go from Deuteronomy where it's like, oh, this is pretty reasonable for the ethics to just
for the ethics
way down the drain by 1740.
I actually have a list of laws comparing the type of laws too.
Oh, let's get into it.
To where you can actually see the differences and which cultures are actually more similar than not, and then just how different the Jewish culture was. Mm-hmm. So we got actually in Deuteronomy chapter 23, verses 15 through 16. You shall not give up to his master a slave who has escaped from his master to you. He shall dwell with you in your midst, in the place which he shall choose within one of your towns, where it pleases him best. You shall not oppress him. So that's just saying if you find a runaway slave, you don't have to, return him back. Obviously, there is a reason why he's running away. There is something bad going on. That right there, I feel like just is kind of crazy to even think about.
Yeah.
You just don't think about that type of law, especially in a system with slavery. Mm-hmm. At least the system that me and you are thinking of.
Right. It's to that idea of like, if they're leaving that situation because it's bad, then they probably don't send them back to that situation. Yeah. But it's like we're talking about slavery here. So clearly there is a different slavery because apparently there's a good slavery and all right slavery.
Yeah.
That people aren't running away from.
Yeah. And like I said again, it just goes back to the words that are being used. I would say the cultural and historical baggage with the word slave and slavery. Because I want people to know, like, we are not supporting or in support of any slavery at all whatsoever. No. It's strictly on the aspect of what is the Bible teaching and what are they referring to when they say slavery. Yeah. Does that make sense?
I don't even like unpaid internships. I'm not gonna like slavery.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But you got Antebellum South USA law, which says failure to deliver back escaped slave of suffer 6 months prison and fine $1,000. That's wild.
That's crazy. $1,000 at that time is insane.
Yeah.
That's so much money.
That's wild. And then you got the law code of Hammurabi, Law 17, which says, if anyone find runaway male or female slave in the open country and brings them to their master, the master of the slave shall pay him 2 shekels of silver. Now, from the jump, I've heard many people talk about how the Hammurabi code is super similar to the Mosaic law. That's just also another not true statement.
Yeah.
Pretty sure if anyone was to look up, matter of fact, I actually highly suggest go and look up the Hammurabi Code, read it, and then compare it to the Mosaic Law. You'll find many, many differences. Mm-hmm. Not only that, the Hammurabi Code also was probably, I don't want to say too close, but pretty close to the same time as the Hebrews. And these laws are completely different, just completely different.
Right.
And then you also have a law from South Carolina law of 1740, which says, and it shall be further enacted by the authority aforesaid that if any slave who shall be out of the house or plantation where such slave shall live, or shall be usually employed, or without some whiter person in company with such slave, shall refuse to submit or undergo the examination of any white person, it shall be lawful for any such white person to pursue, apprehend, and moderately correct such slave. And if any such slave shall assault and strike such white person, such slave may be lawfully killed. Wow.
Insane.
Sheesh.
Absolutely insane.
You know what's wild too is that like that sounds horrible. And then you compare it to the verse in Deuteronomy, and it's like what is going on right now?
Where do we go from Deuteronomy where it's like, oh, this is pretty reasonable for the ethics to just
for the ethics.
Way down the drain by 1740.
It like got worse. It was
so
like
much worse.
This is wild. This is crazy.
And the sad thing is the people this time are using the Bible to justify that law.
Yeah. Speaking of that,
that's what's crazy.
You know what's even crazy too is that like when you actually look at the Bible that they were using, you can actually look this up. I would actually highly suggest if you're at the Bible Museum in Washington D.C., they actually have the slave Bible. Yeah, and it has massive portions taken out of it.
Yeah.
Speaking of this verse right here, actually, it has this verse taken out of it. It has a majority of Exodus taken out of it. It has multiple verses in the New Testament taken out of it. It's wild.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, people are saying, oh, the Bible supports slavery and all this other stuff. The truth is, if the Bible really supported slavery, they would not have taken so many verses out of the Bible. You
wouldn't have to change the Bible.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to change the Bible in order to get it to support your position. It's just, it's wild. It's wild. It's craziness. And then you also have a commentary from Job, which I also think was very, very interesting. So in Job chapter 31, verses 13 through 15, Job, this is, him going through all of his stuff, and he's trying to figure out what sin he committed.
Mm-hmm.
And in this moment, he actually brings up the aspect, because he had many bondservants, he had many servants, or slaves. And in this moment, he's actually bringing up a form of sin to where he's asking God, like, did I sin against my own slaves? Did I treat them harshly? Like, God, examine me. Like, what did I do wrong? And he's bringing this up because he didn't. Why? Because he was looked down upon. That was not something you were supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, if I have rejected the cause of my manservant or my maidservant, when they brought a complaint against me, what then shall I do when God rises up, when he makes inquiry? What shall I answer him? Do not he who made me in the womb make him? And did not one fashion us in the womb? So, wow. You're not only getting that, but then you're also getting him identifying with the slave,
mm-hmm.
or the manservant or maidservant. That right there, actually, when you just think about it, is so countercultural. One, because Job is the oldest book inside the Bible. And two, it being the oldest book inside the Bible. And yet Job, when you read the story, you learn that he's a very wise man, very rich man, and very free man. But on top of that, he is he's showing that he's equal with the slave,
mm-hmm.
which was just monumental. That was not something that was understood, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually completely mind-blowing.